All right, I think I'm gonna get started. Hold on. Okay, I don't even know what this freaking music is. I could not get my regular music in place. I really am not prepared for streaming today whatsoever. Hello everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I did see Consumer of Toasters stop by in the chat, but had to go, which is unfortunate, but no worries there. I see Brooke is over on the Twitch chat. Hello, welcome. I was thinking that the next time I multi-streamed, I would just go ahead and put the combined chat on the screen so that everyone could just see what everyone was saying. I don't think that's technically allowed on Twitch. I think that's technically against their terms of service for multi-streaming, but I feel like everyone does it anyway. But I did not really prepare for today's stream that much, but I wanted to stream today. Hello, everyone. Oh, more folks are showing up in the chat. Jay is here as well. Hello. Yes, you did actually spell it correctly. Thank you so much. Erica is here as well. You should make a video about the Infinity Train leak storyboards. Gotta go. Happy birthday. Cool. Thanks. Maybe I will. I've thought about it. Tune is here as well. Hello. Thanks so much for stopping by, everyone. I know, I really appreciate it. Yeah, so I guess first of all, I should probably put a message or something or another up on here. I want to put up some text. Add a new source. Yeah, so I do want to add some text here just to say, like, hey, by the way, and Twitch, or not Twitch, but whatever this thing is, OBS will take its sweet time to load that. But yeah, so thank you so much for being here. Yeah, I'm really unprepared for today because I kind of spent most of my time and energy the past month and a half to 2 months preparing for my actual birthday, which is today. Today is my actual birthday, but I had a little celebration, little get together over the weekend on Saturday with some friends of mine, in person, IRL. And I'm not an event planner whatsoever by any means. But I have learned a thing or two about event planning through my job and just sort of like doing events at work and supporting them and just sort of like picking up what it takes to run an event. And let me tell you, it's pretty difficult. There's so much to consider. Thank you, DJ Smoothie. I appreciate you stopping by. Hey, how are you? How's it going? I'm putting this up in the chat right now, but just so you know, I'm thinking about changing my name. If I can figure out how to make this bigger. I don't know what that does. Let's not do that then. Okay, outline. Yes, I want an outline. I want the outline to be black. Okay. Can I make this bigger? Can I make this bigger? Yes, I can. Yeah. So, hey, by the way, yeah, hopefully that shows up on the stream. By the way, I'm trying out a new name, so I appreciate it. But yeah, thank you for the birthday wishes. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. So yeah, I spent all my effort. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm working on like kind of a video idea in my head right now for just talking about like this name change and kind of what I have been thinking about leading up to it and kind of how I came to decide it and all that good stuff. But that's all for another day. I will talk about that another time. But yeah, thank you all for the birthday wishes. I really appreciate it. You guys are very kind for stopping by. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, so I spent a lot of my efforts these past couple months. Tune, I really appreciate that. Thank you. Tune says I really like the sound of Vikram. I appreciate that. Thank you. Um I have been spending the past like month and a half or so planning this party for myself, and it was never going to be a huge event. It was always going to be a very small party, but even a small thing, like, this is a problem that I have. I admit that this is a total fatal flaw of mine, but I love coming up with ideas, and sometimes those ideas are like too big for my britches, like too bigger bite than I can chew, I guess you could say. So I kept coming up with ideas and thoughts, and like some of them I was able to pull off, some of them I had to kind of scale back or rethink or just abandon altogether. But a couple months ago, I had the idea to come up with this dropout themed party. For those of you who are kind of unfamiliar or maybe have not heard me talk about it before, Dropout is a independent streaming service that does like a lot of comedy, improv, nerdy humor, that kind of genre of programming. And I used to do improv back in like my high school and college days, and so I'm a big appreciator of the art form, you could say. uh, and I just really appreciate Dropout for supporting all these like really cool, diverse, talented artists and being so creative. And it's just been a really big source of like both entertainment and like comfort and inspiration and everything for the past couple of years, honestly. And so I was thinking a couple months ago about how I wanted to celebrate my 30th birthday, and I came up with this idea to do like a Dropout themed party because I was like, well, you know, I love Dropout and like I love games, and I kind of miss like doing improv and that kind of stuff. So what if I like just pretend to be Sam Reich for the day and subject my friends to like do some silly games? And that was sort of the conception of the idea. And I kind of like just kept getting more and more ideas from there to add to it. And um it sort of like became a bigger thing than I had initially kind of conceived, but it ended up like coming together really nicely, and I'm really happy with how everything went. And a bunch of my friends came by, and a couple of my friends from college like flew into town to come to the party, which was really really sweet of them. And yeah, I got to catch up with a couple of friends that I haven't seen in a really long time, which was really sweet. Yeah, just overall I felt very loved and appreciated, and we had a great time. But like I genuinely put a lot of effort into planning this and putting this all together. So I would love to share with you guys today kind of like the process that I went through and kind of like the coming together of like this party that I did. And for anyone who is a Dropout fan, if you happen to be a Dropout fan and watching, I would love to hear like your thoughts, especially because like I just think that this was super fun to do. And um you know, a lot of my friends are not Dropout fans. Like they've heard me talk about it or they've like seen clips here and there, but they're not like actively subscribers or like fans of Dropout or anything like that. But I think they still had a good time, and so I'm curious to know like, you know, if you think this is cool, if this is something that you would like to do, if you like, if this inspires you in some sort of way, I would love to know that. But yeah, I like came up with this idea, and I would love to share kind of like how I pulled this all together. And so first the first idea I had was, okay, so like I want to do a bunch of different games that are kind of inspired from Dropout, and like what are the kind of games that I want to do, what are my favorite Dropout shows that I can get some inspiration from. And one of my favorite shows on there is the show Dirty Laundry. And Dirty Laundry is hosted by Lily Dew and Grant O'Brien. Technically, I guess he's the co-host. And it's basically a game where like the guests share secrets about themselves or like just stories from their past, and Lily will like randomly pick a secret and read it out loud, and the players then have to guess who the secret belongs to, and then if it's your secret, you're supposed to try to like throw people off your trail so that they don't guess you that it's your secret. And so I figured that this would be a fun kind of like icebreaker game in a way, because like some of my friends like know each other from before, but some of them were meeting for the first time and like didn't know each other before. So I figured this was like a good way to kind of like get everyone to kind of know each other a little bit, share some fun stories, and just sort of like get comfortable with everyone. And so we did that at first too, and I'm not going to share any of the secrets from my friends because they shared them in confidence, and but there were some really funny and cool stories in there. Some of my friends who I've known for a really long time had some really wild stories in there that I never would have guessed that came from them, which was really fun. And actually, if I can figure out how to do this, let me see if I have Jay in the chat says Grant is the star of Dirty Laundry. Honestly, that's so true. Grant is genuinely so funny. And it's part of why I like love that show so much, is just Grant and Lily and their chemistry together. They're so funny. Where do I have a where do I have a nope, that's not it. That is my screen. Okay, that's kind of what I was looking for. Let me do this. Let me do this so that you're not looking at weird stuff in chat. Okay, and then I wanted to pull this up. And let me get my camera back too. Where is my video source? Hold on. Copy. Can I do that? Yes. Okay, great. Oh, also by the way, this backdrop thing, so I had the idea to come up to make this backdrop thing, and I did not do it. It was one of those ideas that I like came up with and then like couldn't put it together at the last minute. So I made my friends do this. Like, you know, just kind of before the party started, like the folks who came early, I was like, hey, do you want to help me with like this decoration idea I had that I did not prepare beforehand, but I wanted to do? And they thankfully were very creative and came up with this very cool pattern and mimicked the Game Changer loop-de-loop. But okay, here we go. I also want to get my text back. Okay. Yeah, so I created this like PowerPoint presentation like for my friends. And so like the dropout theme was age changer, because like I was obviously doing a playoff Game Changer. And I freaking like taught myself how to use Adobe Illustrator and like found all these fonts and like edited all these images and everything. So this was also like a really cool kind of like learning experience for me too. I got to kind of like try out these new softwares and these new kind of like creative endeavors, and I did like kind of a lot of stuff. So I would love to like kind of like share some of that stuff with you. So yeah, first of all, I did this PowerPoint presentation. I'm going to go ahead and do it as a slideshow. Something went wrong. Something went wrong. Okay, something's going wrong. Okay, it doesn't want to work for me, so we're just gonna do it this way. My computer's fighting me. Okay, we're just gonna do it this way, and hopefully that's... Oh, all of my images are breaking. Great. Let me just restart this then. Let's just freaking restart this then. And hopefully it doesn't break. There we go. Now can we do the slideshow from beginning? Yes, there we go. Yeah, so I put together this little slideshow. And this was like kind of the show for the day, right? So it was like, get ready for an age changer, and I played the little intro music, and then I introduced all my friends to each other. We did like a little introduction, introducing our players, and again, I made this little image thing, this podium, right? I made that in Illustrator by myself. So like I again, I just kind of want to show off the work that I put into this, because I'm like really proud of how it all came together. Also like this background, or like the you know, the border with the colors and stuff, I like did that in Illustrator as well too. So yeah, lots of stuff I did. And then I kind of like took a moment and I was like, oh, hey, by the way, I'm like thinking about changing my name. And so, of course, I had to like be this like flamboyant, theatrical, whatever, and say, hey, by the way, also get ready for a name changer. Because, by the way, I'm thinking about changing my name, which was very funny. And, you know, most of my friends that were there, like I had talked to them about it before. But like I said, there were a couple of my friends there whom I really hadn't gotten a chance to catch up with in a few months. And so, yeah, for them, it was news. And so I got to do this little announcement, which was very fun. And then we did the proper introduction of get ready for an age changer. And then I kind of like took a moment to just sort of explain what the hell is game changer slash dropout. You know, like I said, a lot of my friends like weren't that familiar with it, and so I just like took a moment and I was like, hey, by the way, it's this like really awesome streaming service that does all these shows. It has all these awesome cast members. They're so fun and nerdy and like progressive and diverse. You know, I absolutely like am inspired by some of these performers, and it's just really great the way Dropout conducts itself to like uplift these artists, and not even just like the performers, right, but like the visual effects team and the set designers and the props team and all the people who do the graphics and like do the art and everything, right? Like so many talented creative people are working at Dropout that like it's just very cool to see, right? So took a little moment to give them my spiel of why I love Dropout so much. And then we went into the dirty laundry portion of the game segment. You know, I got to play the trailer. We won't play it here because I don't want to get copyright damned on YouTube. But hey, also like want to point out that this like background, this like gradient with like the neon blue border, again, I created that in Illustrator. Did all of that myself. So again, very proud of that. And then I just like took a moment to talk about the show. Long story short, on paper, Dirty Laundry is a show that I should dislike. All these things about it are like things that theoretically are things I dislike, but at the end of the day, the show itself is like so funny and so much fun, and all the people they have on it have like super great chemistry, and it's just a great show that I enjoy. It's like the closest thing to my guilty pleasure show, I guess you could say. Bort is also in the chat. Hey Bort, how's it going? Hey, happy birthday. I hope you're doing well. It's a little after midnight here, so can't stay for too long. No worries. I appreciate you stopping by anyway. Yeah, it's really great to see you as well. We should like catch up soon as well too. I would love to hear what you've been up to, and it's great to hear from you, genuinely. Thank you so much for stopping by. uh and so this was again like, you know, we were gonna play the game, right? And so I came up with these like spoof names for all of the Dropout shows, like for playing at my birthday party. And so instead of Dirty Laundry, it was 30 Laundry, because I'm turning 30, a lot of my friends are turning 30, so it was 30 Laundry, and we did a bunch of secrets and stuff. Again, I'm not going to reveal any of the secrets here, and I do actually think that the next slide reveals one of those secrets, so we're going to go ahead and skip that. And then the next portion of the day was the Smarty Pants portion. And Smarty Pants is a show on Dropout where, like, if you've ever seen the concept of those like PowerPoint presentation parties where like people come up with like fun, silly PowerPoint presentation topics. Actually, I remember I did one a little while ago with my friend Offbeat Kiki, who is another YouTuber. Um they did like a PowerPoint night that I participated in a little while ago, which was a lot of fun. So this is a very similar concept to that. It's a bunch of comedians doing like funny presentations. And so I actually asked my friends, oh wait, yeah, I first talked about the show and how great it was. Rekha Shankar is the love of my life and an absolute hero, and I love her a lot, and she's great. Tune, yeah, I should look up to Dropout. I've been looking for good alternative media. Yeah, if you just like, you know, silly feel good comedy that like doesn't, you know, that like features a lot of creative, diverse, queer comedians, comedians of color. You know, it's never like punching down. It's always like really silly, good comedy. And like they do get like gross and adult and mature or dark at sometimes, right? But like it's never like bigoted. They're never bigoted, I guess I could say. So I highly recommend them. And Rekha is just the most beautiful woman alive. I kind of hate her for that, but also I love her and I can't really fault her for that. So the spoof for Smarty Pants for me was Oldie Pants, because I couldn't think of like a funny pun. So again, I edited this image. This one, I think you can tell I put a little less effort into. I was like, you know what, we're just gonna put old there and go from there. And then I actually, unlike the show, I myself graded the presentations that all my friends did because I actually had a prize for them, and I would love to show you the prize that I made. So actually, before I show you the actual prize that I made, I want to show you another thing that I made if my computer will allow me to load it. Let's see if I can do this. Nope. Let's see. So I literally I taught myself Adobe Illustrator for this, right? Yeah, Jay says Dropout has such a huge variety to choose from as well. Yeah, totally. Like there's a lot of shows actually on there that I don't watch just because like I don't have the time to watch everything. There's so much stuff on there. So like if there is something you don't like, there's probably something you'll eventually like. So I taught myself Adobe Illustrator because I wanted to I was kind of inspired as I was putting this event together by some of the recent events that like I had attended and really enjoyed. So like some of like the concerts that I've been to, some of the like live podcast tapings that I've been to, some like recent conventions and stuff that I've been to. So like I was getting kind of inspiration from that, right? And so like one of the things that I wanted to have at this party, even though it was literally like me and like seven of my friends, right? Like it wasn't a huge thing, but I wanted to have like merch of some kind, just so that I could kind of make it feel special and kind of give them as party favors and like, you know, thank you for participating in these games kind of thing. And I also wanted to make it so that like my friends who I invited who like couldn't make it, like if they were busy for whatever reason, I wanted to make them feel like they were missing out. Like as mean as that is, I wanted everyone else who actually attended to kind of walk away with something like a souvenir from the day, kind of, right? So I wanted to create. Oh, fuck. My computer is not. Hold on. Let me see. Da, da, da. Mm-mm. Yeah, I think my computer like hates me right now. Ooh, I would love to be able to show you these things that I made. Oh, something's happening. Well, I'll at very least be able to show you in person, but let me see here. So yeah, I basically created merch, and that's kind of what I want to show you. And I wanted to show you kind of the process of how I did it, but my computer is like not loading my files properly. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to. Oop. Look at this box that I have. Okay. Well, I can show you this. Let's see. So I already showed you on the PowerPoint slide one of the designs, but I also got these like little postcards printed. So get ready for an age changer with my little graphic that I made. And actually, Tom helped me create this. Those of you who obviously know Tom from Curmudgeon Media, he helped me design this. So shout out to Tom for helping with that. And then I created this little itinerary that like has sort of the plan for the day, and that was on the back of that postcard. But another design that I created was this little design right here. I wanted to create something that was kind of a nod to Dropout, but wasn't like immediately too explicitly like Dropout, Dropout, Dropout. So I thought like for my friends who are not necessarily fans of Dropout, I wanted them to kind of walk away with something that like referenced the day, referenced Dropout, referenced us playing games together, but maybe wasn't like about Dropout or like anything like that. So I took the phrase, that Sam Reich says at the beginning of every game changer, the only way to learn is by playing. And I created this little design. I found this font and I actually customized it. I modified it a little bit. So like I freaking learned how to use the pen tool and all that good stuff in Illustrator, and kind of customize and adjust this to the point where I thought it looked good. And I am really happy with how it came out. And so I created this little design and, did the loop-de-loops in the background. And on the back of this card, I created like just a little score kind of card where it's like, thanks for playing. Appreciate you hanging out with me for the day. If you want to, you can write your final score in the card and keep this as like a souvenir. So that was like one thing that I made. And then I also took that design, the only way you learn is by playing. And I got these little like can koozies made. Magical asks, drop out a game and sorry if I'm late. Happy birthday, Vic. No worries. I appreciate you stopping by, Magical. Thank you so much for the birthday wishes. Dropout is a streaming service that features a lot of shows that play different games. One of their main shows is called Game Changer, where they play a new game in every episode. And so that's why he says this phrase, the only way to learn is by playing, because at the start of every episode, they don't know what the game is. And so the only way to learn what the game is to start playing the game. And so that's where that phrase comes from. So I created these little koozies. I think they're super cute. They weren't too expensive. I wanted to like get stuff that obviously like wasn't too expensive because I was just paying for all this stuff out of pocket, but also like something that might be a little useful and cute and whatever. So created that. And then because I'm me, and like you guys know I love enamel pins, right? I actually took that design and I kind of tweaked the design a little bit. Okay, so first of all, like the original version of that design actually, so like this one you can see has like a white text with kind of a black shadow. So I actually originally created that design, and my freaking is this gonna load? Let's see if this loads. Okay, here we go. So a version of this design that I created actually, here, hold on. Display performance, high quality display. So this was kind of a version of that design that I had created where it's like got this blue background and it has these like multicolored stripes. I wanted to like again do the subtle dropout reference and um kind of stole their color scheme for that. So one of the prizes that I created for my friends who were playing these games was like basically it's this little like tote bag drawstring bag thing where I put the design on there. Yeah, again, it's just like I wanted it to feel like, oh, you actually won something for playing the game. So yeah, I got a handful of these and gave them to my friends as prizes. And like I was saying, I really love enamel pins. I collect them. And so especially when I go to events, I really like doing enamel pins. Like I like getting enamel pins. Like I think this enamel pin is like from Buffy Prom 2022, and like this enamel pin is from the time I saw Rebecca Sugar in concert, and uh you know, stuff like that. Like this was another like Buffy event that I went to, right? So I love going to events and getting enamel pins for the events. Zoe's in the chat. Thank you so much for the birthday wishes. Vikram, that's a cool name. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. So I actually created an enamel pin with that design for my birthday event. Ooh, I almost dropped it. But I wanted to show that off because it's so, I don't know if it's gonna focus. I don't know if it's gonna focus. I don't know if it's gonna focus, but hopefully you can kind of see it. It does have the multicolored stripes. There we go. It does have the multicolored stripes and kind of a black outline. But I'm super happy with how these came out. I only got like a handful of them. It was a little expensive, not gonna lie. Which is why I totally understand now why people who make pins and sell them do it the way they do, because they are kind of expensive to make. And so like you want to buy like a large quantity of them, right? And you probably only want to buy a large quantity of them if you know you're going to sell them. So I am not selling these. These are literally just for me and my friends and like as a souvenir. And so they were kind of expensive because of that, because I only got like a handful of them. So, but I'm super happy with how they came out. I am so excited to put it up on my pin board, the first enamel pin that I designed and created myself. Also, if anyone from Dropout is watching this stream or is watching a recording of the stream in the future and you want to hire me to design merch for you, I literally learned how to do this in like 3 weeks. So like just imagine what I could do if you like paid me and gave me endless time to create cool things. Magical says, "Wow, you made a very cool enamel pin. Thank you." Yeah, I'm really proud of this and happy with how it came out. So yeah, Dropout. You know, my email is on my channel. You can reach out to me. My business email. All right, okay. Yeah, so one of the prizes I also created, again, like I just kept having ideas and I wanted to like make stuff. I love making stuff. I love doing like craft projects. I love like creating stuff like this. And so one of the projects that I did for the prize, the main prize, so like I asked all my friends to create PowerPoint presentations, right? And basically do our version of Smarty Pants, which is Oldie Pants. And so I wanted to like get a prize for the effort that they were all putting in. And so the prize that I ended up making was I hand painted, yeah, that's right. I hand painted this mug. So I took that design. I took this design that I had created in Adobe Illustrator and I used my hand and paint to paint it on a mug. And obviously like if you get in really close, like it's so far from perfect. Like I made so many mistakes, but like if you look at it from a distance, like it looks pretty clean. And honestly, not to brag, but this looks so much cooler than any of the mugs on the Dropout store. Just saying. Just saying. I mean, I did hand paint this, but I mean, like, if you spent a bunch of money, like, honestly, I wanted to get mugs for like all of my friends. I wanted to do that as like a party favor gift. But getting mugs is very expensive, and especially if you're going to do them in multiple colors, like if you have a design that's multiple colors, then it gets like crazy expensive. And so I was like, okay, I don't want to spend that much money, and I don't think everyone will really like use a mug necessarily. So I'll just do one mug, and I'll have that be kind of the grand prize for the main event, I guess you could say, or like the event at least that I asked them to put the most effort into. So yeah, I spent maybe about uh 8 to 10 hours painting this. I did paint 2 of them, so like that's also why it took a little bit longer. But it did take me about 8 to 10 hours to paint this after I had also created all those designs in Adobe Illustrator. So yeah, it took me a long time, took me a lot of effort, but I'm really happy with how it came out. And the reason that I haven't actually awarded the prize yet is because on Saturday we were actually like running late and running kind of behind schedule. And so there were a couple of my friends who they didn't get a chance to do their presentations yet. And so I scheduled a short little Zoom call with them for tomorrow, where we're going to hop online and basically hear the last couple of presentations that we didn't get time for. And then once I've heard all of the presentations from my friends, that's when I'll decide the winner, and the winner will get the pretty hand painted mug that I created. Jay says the imperfections make it better. It shows that you did it by hand with effort. Yeah, that's what I thought too, right? Like it's definitely like made with love and made with my hands. So I hope that whoever ends up winning it enjoys it and doesn't accidentally wash off the paint, because that would make me really sad. But I'm really happy with how it came out. I am glad I put in all the effort. I think it was worth it in the end. Yeah, and also I did kind of want to show you this, and let me see if I can actually show you this if my computer will load it. But I just want you all to know, and this is more a reminder for me than anyone else, but I do want to share this with you because I think like, you know, like I'm showing you all this cool stuff, but like nobody gets good at something right away, right? Like you have to kind of like try and fail and struggle a little bit in order to like eventually succeed. So like I said, I've been planning this for like a couple months now, and I had this idea to like come up with prizes and like come up with this design to like create merch and like give it to my friends and stuff. Like I had this idea a while ago, and this was my first attempt. It actually did successfully load, but this was my first attempt at the design I made. And this looks horrible. This looks very ugly. And so like this wasn't even the first one I tried. This was like the third or fourth one that I tried to make. And so just sort of like a reminder to everyone that like learning is a process. You kind of have to flounder around and like fuck up and, you know, make something that looks really bad and ugly, and, you know, try to get used to the new tools that you're trying to learn in order to eventually create something good, right? So like this is an early version of this idea I had, and this looks really ugly and terrible, and I hate this, right? But it took some trial and error, and, you know, I went on YouTube and I like learned some tutorials, right? And I like watched some videos from experts who like taught some design principles and like the kind of things to look out for and ways to use the tools to make things easier. And so then after, with all of that knowledge and being able to practice with it a little bit, that's when I was able to then create something that like looked a lot better. And you know what? There might be some professional designer out there that like looks at this and is like, oh, there's like all these flaws and like blah, blah, blah. But you know, for the first time that I really designed something like this, I feel like it looks pretty good and I'm happy with it. And hey, maybe if I, you know, end up pursuing typography or graphic design or anything like that down the line, then like I might improve and I might look back on this and be like, oh yeah, this is terrible. But at least for now, I'm pretty happy with it. And who knows if I'll do more of this stuff in the future. I like will do these one-off projects and then like I'll never look back at them again. So like who knows what I'll do with these newfound skills that I've now developed, or if they'll actually come in handy in the future. Magical says, as a wise man once said, practice makes perfect. Yes, that's absolutely so true. Jay says he's got to head to work, but have a great rest of your age changer. I appreciate that, Jay. Thanks so much for hanging out and stopping by. Appreciate you being here. Yeah, so I was really happy with how all those things came together, and then I made my friends do a bunch of presentations. We're still not done with them, so we are going to continue them down the line. But you know, we had our presenters there, and then after all the presentations, we did some game changer games, and so I talked a little bit about game changer and all the stuff that I really like about game changer. You know, it's not parasocial, I swear. You know, genuinely though, like I do respect all of these artists and creatives for the work that they do, and obviously like I know that they're just human beings, and you know, they've got their strengths and flaws just like all of us at the end of the day. But like also, I think it's fine to acknowledge that these people are closer to you in your values, in your priorities, like in terms of like what kind of creative work and also what kind of like moral social priorities, I guess you could say. Like the fact that they want to like feature queer creators and trans creators and creators of color and Black creators, right? Like it's just really not neutral. And so I appreciate that they have that bravery to do that. And I don't think that it's wrong to acknowledge that, you know, there's this representation and it helps me feel seen and inspires me to be myself more, right? And so like I don't think like I feel like parasocial, right? Sorry, this is not a tangent I thought I would be going on, but I feel like the term parasocial, like it does kind of have a negative connotation, but I think on its own it's kind of neutral, right? Like I can acknowledge that these people like mean a lot to me and they have no idea who I am, right? Like both of those things are true, but it only starts to become a problem when I start having expectations, right? Like if I'm like, oh, freaking Brennan Lee Mulligan didn't like the reply I left on his picture on Instagram, that means he's a shitty person now, right? Like it's only when like you start having expectations, and I mean it doesn't even have to be that specific. It can just be like, oh, they're not making the kind of comedy I like, or they made a joke that I don't like, or something like that, right? Like it's only when you start having these unrealistic expectations for these people, if they're not perfectly in the image that you've created for them, where I think parasocial relationships can become a problem. So I think as long as you're acknowledging that like, hey, they're a full, flawed, rounded human being that I admire and whose work I appreciate, but also like I have no control over them at the end of the day and they don't know who I am. Like I think it's like as long as all of that is on the table, like, you know, being parasocial is fine. Bort says, I've only seen a few clips of Game Changer, but honestly, they always have players who are so sharp and funny. They put a lot of famous and professional game show hosts and comedians to shame. No, really. Yeah. I feel like they have really gone out of their way to find comedians who are truly talented and like truly underappreciated. Like, especially like all these, like I said, queer creators and creators of color, right? But like they're genuinely talented, and like I feel like the only reason they're not getting featured on like professional game shows or like actual TV, right, is because like they have these marginalized identities that make it hard for them to be successful in the mainstream in the industry. And so it's really great to have these channels like Dropout to feature these creators that like might not get the same opportunities but have just as much talent and skill as like some of these professional comedians. So yeah, I totally agree with you on that. I think they're just great. I just think they're neat. You know what I mean? And it all is owed to Sammy Reich here. I made a joke on Saturday where Sam Reich is actually the son of Robert Reich, who used to be the labor secretary for the Clinton administration. So Sam Reich is very much a Nepo baby. He comes from like this political background. But we made a joke on Saturday that Sam Reich was the best thing to come out of the Clinton administration. And you know what? Like, that's like barely even a joke. It's like kind of true. So shout out to Sam Reich, one of the only good CEOs out there. Hashtag not all CEOs. There's good ones out there too. Yeah, and then we played like a few different like game changer games. One of the games was like today's sponsor is, so I made my friends talk about like some of their hyperfixations uh as if they were today's sponsor, and yeah, just sort of gave my friends an opportunity to info dump on some of the nerdy things that they're interested in, including Mudang. Shout out to Mudang, the hippo. And then the second game we did was Vic Says, and this was really just an opportunity for me to get used to my new name and all of the people hearing the name and me saying the name. So that was just sort of like a fun opportunity to do that. And so we had like a few different, Vikram Says challenges. And then we didn't actually get to the third game, unfortunately. We ran out of time there, but I did have a third game prepared. But anyway, all that to say, I did all this work and I just kind of wanted to show off and talk about it and share with y'all the stuff that I did and the stuff that I made. And shout out to all my friends who were such good sports and played along with all my shenanigans, and hopefully had a good time. I think everyone enjoyed it. And then after we did all of these games, actually, we went and we did an escape room. And if I could hold on, let me do this first. Let me switch over here. I would love to show you some pictures that we took. Because there's an episode of Game Changer where they are like in a surprise escape room. And so we went and we did an escape room. I only got a couple of pictures. But this was like one of the puzzles in the escape room. It was really cool. There was like an interactive component to it, and then like a screen that was like influenced by the stuff that we were doing. We did end up solving the escape room, and in record time too. We had like 13 minutes to spare. But the escape room, the specific room that we did, was called the Timeliner, and it was like a time traveling magical train that like went to different eras of like history and stuff. So that was a lot of fun. Got a few pictures there, and then we also of course took a picture with the I Escaped, which was a lot of fun. Yeah, so that was just very cool. We had a great time there. Magical says, I think this is the first time I've heard of Dropout. I hope you and your friends enjoy playing these games for your birthday. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. We had a lot of fun. Yeah, Dropout is awesome, and it was just like a very easy thing to kind of theme a party around, right? Like I've got all these colors that made it easy to like kind of make a theme. Oh yeah, here's a picture of the backdrop, this loop-de-loop on the day of, and me standing in front of it. Let me see, are there any other pictures that I'd like to share? Oh, also, I was trying to have some virtual participation too, because I wanted Tom to be able to join, and a couple of my other friends who obviously like don't live in the area. And so this was Tom giving his presentation, which was all about silly named places in England. So that was a lot of fun. Magical says, congrats on winning the escape room. My sibling played a few escape rooms too. Yeah, I love doing escape rooms. I had done a couple like when I was in college, but I haven't done one since. So it's been so many years since I've gotten to do one. So we went and did one over the weekend, and it was a lot of fun. And yeah, we solved it with 13 minutes to spare. So it was a good bragging right moment. Yeah, but yeah, Tom gave a presentation too, which was a lot of fun. Let's see, are there any other photos that we can share? Da, 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 da. Yeah, just really Yeah, we went out to dinner afterwards too, which was a lot of fun. Yeah, I hope my friends are okay with me sharing these pictures. I didn't actually ask them, but hopefully they're fine with it. Um, but yeah, and that was pretty much it. That was pretty much the day. I had a really great time. I am really just, I wanted to just like take a moment to be impressed and proud of myself for like pulling it all together and pulling this off. And, event planning is really hard. We also had like a full lunch, there as well too. My mom really helped me out with that part. She helped me kind of figure out all the food, and she also picked it up and brought it over, and everything. And so yeah, big shout out to my mom for the help for that. And yeah, overall, it was just a really great time. I am not sure if I will ever do something like this again. I would love to, like, design more merch and like do cool stuff like that. Maybe, if my YouTube channel ends up growing any bigger, I might end up like designing some merch for the channel or something like that. That might be a lot of fun. Um, yeah, overall, it was just a good time. I'm gonna drink some of this coffee that I've had that's been sitting here. Um, what else do I want to talk about today? You know, I kind of want to talk a little just about like turning 30 and getting older, which may sound like it's going to be depressing, but I promise it's not. Shadowlink, hello, hello. Not sure if I can say or not, but want to at least pop in and say happy birthday. Thank you. No, I appreciate that. Thank you so much for popping in and stopping by, and for the birthday wishes. Really appreciate that. But yeah, I kind of just want to talk a little bit about like getting older, turning 30, changing my name, right? All this sort of stuff. And I have been actually thinking about like making a proper video about this in the near future. Um I guess first of all, I should say I've been thinking of kind of like rebranding my channel actually. Obviously, I'm going to need to change the name once I am a little bit more assured in my name change. So that's going to be coming in the near future. The channel name change. And then I've also been thinking, right, of like creating some new graphics, creating some new icons and banners and whatnot, things like that. And now that I have a little bit more experience in graphic design and Illustrator and all that stuff, I feel like, yeah, maybe that can be kind of the next project I work on. So that's kind of coming up in the pipeline right now, is the channel rebrand. That should be interesting. I have some vague ideas for that, but nothing really quite set in stone yet. It hasn't really been my priority for the recent past couple of weeks, and so that's going to be coming in the near future, I think, hopefully within the next like month or so. And then I have a video that I am in the middle of making, but I'm thinking about kind of redoing some parts of it. So it's still in progress. I still want to get it done. It is the Your Fave is Trans Gwen video that I've been talking about for just way too long at this point. But yeah, I just need to get it done. It's gonna happen. It's so close to being done. I just need to get it through that last part, but it'll happen. And once that happens, that's when I'm like thinking about like maybe I can do some more videos that are a bit more experimental, like I feel like the thing that has kind of kept me from making videos and putting more effort into the channel is I have felt very kind of like pigeonholed, I guess you could say. Like, I love Infinity Train, don't get me wrong, but like obviously that was the thing that like helped me grow my channel in the beginning. And for the longest time, I just felt very trapped in like, oh, I can only talk about Infinity Train, or I can only talk about cartoons, and I can only do it in like this sort of style of video, right, where it's like my little avatar talking and there's like footage of whatever like playing over what I'm talking about, right? And I love those kind of videos and I love making those kind of videos, but they are also a lot of effort to make. Like, there's so much thought and little details that go into making a video like that, versus, not to say that like videos are easy to make if you do it other ways, right? I think no matter what, there's effort and challenge and work that goes into making a video, but there are styles of editing that are easier to manage, right? Um than something as detailed as something that I've made in the past. And so it felt like very overwhelming at a certain point too, because like the thing is, when I was making those Infinity Train videos, and I feel like I've talked about this before, right? Like I was just so obsessed with the show and I had no one to talk to about it, and so I just like needed an outlet to get my passion out there, and that's what making those videos was. And unfortunately though, that like passion and hyperfixation, at least for me, like it kind of comes and goes in waves, and it's like not very sustainable. So as soon as that kind of like mellowed out, I was like, okay, now it's like all of a sudden really hard to make videos. And then also there was like all this pressure that I was honestly putting on myself, but also like I feel like the YouTube algorithm kind of uh subliminally ingrains this into you, where it's like, oh, you can only make this kind of video, you have to be making videos frequently, and I just felt very overwhelmed with that and like not able to keep up. And so, my channel kind of plateaued and calmed down after a while, and I was feeling kind of like bad about that. I went through a lot of like mental health stuff in between too. um and recently, and I think I've talked about this before too on a recent stream, but recently I've been doing vocal training, and with vocal training has come a lot of introspection, and with the introspection has come, with the name change and all this other stuff, and like kind of self-discovery. And I feel like these past few months, like my brain has been kind of rewiring and shifting, and I'm sort of like understanding myself a little bit more, and kind of like my own limitations and the things that are holding me back, and the challenges that I have to overcome for myself in order to reach my goals, right? Which on one hand can feel impossible, but on the other hand, I feel like I have to at least try. You know what I mean? I can't just like be miserable my entire life and say like, "Oh, my goals are unattainable and I'm never going to be able to like live my dreams," whatever that means, if I don't at least try. And I can't keep comparing myself to other people who maybe have tried and failed, or even like tried and succeeded. And like, I sometimes I look at these like dropout comedians and I'm like, wow, they're so talented and so skilled and so amazing at their craft. Like I could never be on that level. But like, it's silly to make that comparison, because like these people have had like years of experience of like practicing and working on their craft and like taking classes and like collaborating with other people that like I don't have. So it doesn't make sense to compare myself to that. And I probably could do that if I wanted to. If I wanted to put in the effort, if I wanted to take years of classes and practice and like work with people, like I could probably do that if I wanted to. But like the question is like, do I want to, right? Tune says, I'm glad you've been doing better mentally. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's been a lot of active work. I've been like meditating as well too. I've been journaling, right? I've been in therapy, right? Like this is also really hard to do on your own. Like I feel like I've tried therapy so many times in my life, right? Like, not to go off on this random other tangent here, but like I was obviously in therapy as a kid, like in high school, right? When I was like going through all those tough times there. I was in therapy in college. I was in therapy after college, and I never really quite benefited from it. I think like obviously there was maybe some passive benefit that I was getting from like, going in every week and like just talking about my feelings and talking about what happened in the week, but it never really felt like I was making progress. But I feel like these past few months as I've been in therapy, I have been making progress, but it's been more like because of me. Like it's more me having a better understanding of myself and what my goals are and what my needs are, and then going to my therapist and saying like, hey, this is specifically what I'm like struggling with, this is what I want to understand better, and like this is what I also want to get better at. What are some like practical things I can do to like build up this skill or this like behavior that I want to uh strengthen, right? And so it's been more of an active effort for me as well too. It's not just like me going into therapy every week and saying like, "Oh yeah, this is how my week has been." It's more like me going into therapy and being like, "Hey, these are like behavioral patterns I'm noticing and like questioning, and like is there anything I can do about it? What can I do to like fix this or improve this, or at least just be more aware of this, right? Even if it's not something that like I can fix overnight or improve overnight." So it's been a lot of effort. And I think that's also part of why like I just haven't been making YouTube videos, because you know, things take time, and like I also have a full-time job and like trying to balance everything, and you know, obviously I like go off on work on these other little projects here and there. It's like um it's hard to balance everything. But I feel like with these discoveries that I've been having, you know, like these internal pressures I've been putting on myself, like about the YouTube channel, and these expectations that I've been putting on myself, and also like this compulsion I have, right, to like compare myself to other people, like literally anybody. Like I'll watch a YouTuber I really like and be like, "Wow, they're amazing. I could never get on that level." Or I'll watch a YouTuber that like is a friend of mine, or like I'm in a Discord server with, and I'll see them like struggling or like putting in a lot of effort in their channel and it's not growing, and I'll look at them and I'll be like, "Oh, that's probably going to be me if I try to grow my channel," right? Like if I actually put in effort, like it's probably just going to be fruitless and not worth the effort, just like all these other people that I'm seeing struggling. But like it's so silly to compare myself in that way, because like we're so different and have such different experiences and have different styles, have different goals, have different brains, right? Like obviously like also I'm trans and I'm Indian, right? And so there's so many of my own personal experiences that like other people can't bring to the table in the way that I can. So it's really I've really been learning to catch that compulsion I have to compare myself to other people, and like take a step back and be like, okay, does this comparison like actually make sense? And 10 out of 10 times it doesn't make sense, right? Like it's just like a silly, weird comparison that I'm kind of doing to like make myself feel bad. And that really messes with my confidence, right? And so now I'm kind of working on, okay, like going to therapy and being like, hey, I'm noticing myself like comparing myself to other people and it's like affecting my confidence. How can I do things to both be more aware and catch myself in that compulsion to compare myself, and also do things in my day-to-day, you know, just in my day-to-day life that can help me like rebuild that confidence that like I have been denying myself, right? Yeah, so just like a lot of these kind of like internal work that I've been doing, and it's like been quite a journey, you know what I mean? Magical says, I understand what you mean. I still have Infinity Train, but it gets hard to find the passion when you hear no news about the series and you want to try to expand your interest. Yeah, absolutely. And like I still have Infinity Train video ideas that I'd like to do. But again, like my passion kind of comes and goes in waves, right? And so like eventually I'll like rewatch the show and my love for it will like come back in full force, and when that time comes, I'll probably like go back and make those videos. But like, I can't really control when that happens. It kind of just has to happen naturally. Um, Thank you, Magical. Wish you good luck on your journey about growing and learning new skills along the way. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. Tune says, I'm really just tired of the state of everything, really. So seeing something like this from you means more than you may think. Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you. I appreciate that. Sometimes I feel like I have a duty to look out for those struggling because I'm doing relatively well and did so with relatively few obstacles. Yeah, yeah. I feel like, you know, I have a lot of thoughts about the idea of privilege. Um, I feel like the way that privilege gets discussed online, especially like on places like Twitter and TikTok and stuff, like it's not productive. And I feel like a lot of people try to talk about privilege in a way to like shut people down or make people feel bad. I I don't know. Obviously, I can't get in the heads of some of these people, so I can't understand fully like why people like do these things, but I do know that like some of these discourses are just unproductive. And for me, like when I think about like privilege, like I think about some of the privileges that I have too, right? Like even as a transgender Asian person, like I think about a lot of the privileges that I have, right? Like I am relatively like middle class, comfortable. I have an education. I was able to like get a degree. Um, I have like parents that somewhat support me to a certain extent, right? At least my mom does. And I have that like financial safety net, right? Like if anything ever happens. And also like even with like being Asian and trans, right? Like I acknowledge like I'm trans masculine and I know that like being trans feminine is a lot harder in many ways, and like in a lot of ways you could argue that like they have less privilege than trans masculine people. And like being Asian, right? Like I know that like being black or like being Latino is or being indigenous, right, is like such a different experience as like a person of color than being Asian or South Asian. And like I acknowledge that there's a privilege in that too, but like you know there's a concept that I've been learning. Yeah, Toon says I feel like I have to carry the empathy of like 10 people just to offset all of those that who don't. Yeah, I get what you're saying. There's a concept that I've been kind of learning recently that I've been trying to kind of internalize. And you've probably heard the word karma before, right? Like there's this idea of karma that I think the Western concept of karma is a little skewed than what I'm trying to understand it as. So like karma, I think like in the West, people kind of understand it as like, what goes around comes around, right? Like if you do bad stuff, then like bad stuff will happen to you. If you do good stuff will happen to you. But that is not really what the original meaning of karma is in the like in the kind of like yogic sense, I guess you could say. So like my understanding of what karma is basically kind of tied to this idea of privilege, where karma is your life circumstances that are outside of your control. And the reason that I think like it gets skewed into this idea of like, oh, it's like what you put into it is what you get out of it is like what how I understand karma is like karma is your life circumstances that are outside of your control. They're the cards that you were dealt when you were born, right? And like in kind of like the religious world and the spiritual world, there's this idea that like your circumstances are kind of a product of like your previous life and like your previous uh things that you did, in your last sort of soul cycle. And like you don't have to believe in that um to kind of like believe in this concept. Like you don't have to have like that belief of like, oh, reincarnation or whatnot. But basically like the idea of karma is like, this is the hand that you're dealt. These are the cards that you were given with when you were born. And these are like the things that you can't change about yourself, right? So like for me, like I was born Indian, I was born queer, I was born in America, right? Like that's a privilege in a lot of ways. And these are the things that like were outside my control and that I can't do anything about, right? But like it's what and like there's going to be downsides and upsides to the cards that you're dealt, right? There's going to be privileges, there's going to be struggles that you go through, right? Like every person has this. Every person has a different karma. And it's just what you do with it, really, right? Like it's not good or bad. It's neutral, right? Like this is just how it is. Like I'm Indian, I'm trans, I live in California, I was born here. Like there's not really anything fundamentally. Like, obviously I can move states if I want to, right? But like I can't change like the circumstances around me. I can't change I can't change capitalism, right? I can't change the government. These are the things that like are just the cards that I've been dealt with, and like what am I going to do with them, right? That's the question. Like I could sit here and like feel guilty about the privileges I have all my life. And, you know, I think that's a natural compulsion too, right? Especially like for those of us who are like more empathetic and kind, like we see people suffering and like we feel for that, right? And we want to do something about that. But like we also can't control what's outside of our control, you know what I mean? And I think we do have more in control than we think we do. I think a lot of people feel powerless sometimes, even though there are so many things that you can do both on an individual level and like on a community level, right? Like you can get involved in organizations, you can get involved with protests, you can get involved with mutual aid, right? Like there's so many things that you actually can do to make small changes around you that then kind of ripple out, right, and affect more things down the line. I hope I'm making some sense here. I was not really expecting to go off on this tangent here, but I hope I'm making sense. No, yeah, but okay, Bort says I can't change that attitude, or like Bort says I can't change capitalism, not with that attitude, comrade. But no, you're joking, but that's actually not a joke, right? Like I think there are things that we can do to like make small changes and whatnot. And it's like, yeah, maybe we can't change like the entire system overnight, right? But there are things that we can do little by little every day that like make a difference. And maybe, you know, generations down the line, our ancestors will be living in this like socialist communist utopia where everyone's healthcare is paid for, and you know, everyone can like do the jobs that they want to do and get paid well. And yeah, but we got to work towards it, right? Like it's just not going to happen overnight. We got to make it happen. We got to put in the effort. Magical says, I think you're saying facts about why I don't want to engage it online because I'm afraid of the discourse that could come from conversations of or opinions I believe in. Yeah, the thing with online discourse is that, like, especially on places like Twitter and TikTok, where it's like you have to be short, right? Like you only have so many characters, you only have so many seconds in a video. Like in order to get engagement, people have to be as like extreme as possible. So you can't just say something like, you know, some white people have some privileges in certain scenarios, in certain contexts, right? Like that's not engaging enough. You have to say something like white people have privilege and they're all terrible people, and like there's all white people are evil and like are racist deep down inside. It's like it's so much more complicated than that, right? But that's not going to fit in a tweet. So that's like why, in my opinion, engaging in these topics online is just not productive. It's like there's no nuance, there's no gray areas that like people can kind of like tease these sort of like more complicated truths out of. It's just like we have to be as extreme and like what's the word I'm looking for, like as inflammatory as possible in order to like get that engagement, right? So yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that tune. Glad that I could at least make some sense. The other thing, I can never mentally accept when something is out of my control, and thus it's just perpetuated in my head out of desperation to find some glimmers of hope or reform. Yeah, I think it's hard. It's not easy. It's not easy to differentiate what's in your control and what's not in your control. And that's something that I'm still actively working on too, right? Like engaging with politics, I truly don't know how much is in my control versus not in my control. I'm figuring that out, right? Like I try my best to reach out to my representatives and, you know, make comments about the issues that I care about, but I don't know what that's doing. I don't know how much that's actually influencing anything. Um but all that to say, I think it's worth trying. Like I think sometimes our anxiety or our guilt or our overwhelmness, I guess, the feeling of overwhelm, I think all of that stuff can be really paralyzing, and it can lead to inaction. And there's nothing, it's not your fault, I guess you could say, right? Like, obviously, it's kind of designed that way to be so overwhelming that, like, you can't you don't know where to start, right? Like, you don't even know how to, like, tackle the problem. And that's by design. Like, the system is designed to intentionally overwhelm you. But I also think that because we can't do everything, we have to do something, and it's worth trying the little bit of things that we can control, even if we don't think that it's going to make a big difference. I don't know. That's just my opinion. Uh obviously I don't know that for a fact, but in my opinion, I think it's worth trying. Shadow says, "Man, I had to pay $160 for my COVID booster the other day because they're no longer free. That sucks. I'm sorry to hear that. I still need to get my COVID booster. I'm overdue for that, but hopefully my insurance will cover it." Oh, that's good that you got a discount at least. Yeah. Yeah, Toon says the it really has led to paralysis and inaction for me. Yeah, and like there's nothing, like, it's not your fault. I don't blame you for that. But I think, like, sometimes we do have to just take a step back and be like, okay, I know I can't control everything. So, like, what is within my control, and what are the small actions that I can do today to make tomorrow better? I think that's the other problem that people have too, is like they want to solve all the problems and, like, get to the end where everything is happy and perfect. And that is very hard to imagine how to get there. But I think it can be easier to imagine, hey, what can we do to make tomorrow a little bit better, right? Like, what are the small things that we can do to make tomorrow a little bit easier, a little bit better? And that's a little bit more manageable to come up with an idea for. But yeah, thanks for stopping by too. And I appreciate you being here for this long. Take care and have a good rest of your day. Bohr also says, as a result, I think people then expect tweets to be inflammatory and extreme, leading to misinterpretation of otherwise inoffensive opinions. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, there's so many times where, like, I'll see someone post an opinion I'll, like, disagree with, or maybe I think is a little too, like, or yeah, maybe I just think is incorrect, but, like, I don't necessarily need to go out of my way to call that person out or dunk on them or be inflammatory towards them, because, like, yeah, I feel like there's very much an intentional, like, bad faith reading that a lot of times people do, or they'll project their own struggles onto other people's words. I don't know, right? Like, yeah, just Twitter is just not a great place for that kind of discourse. I try not to engage with it. Magical says, I try to see the best in people, but based on what I've seen other people do and say, it gets hard to trust yourself on those types of belief. I really appreciate your opinion. Thank you. Yeah, no, I'm glad that I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, I definitely relate to what you're saying, in that it can be hard to trust yourself. I think that also comes from, like, lack of confidence a little bit, or, like, struggling to have confidence. That's something I'm working on. As soon as I figure out how to get more confidence, I'll let you know. But I think, having trust in yourself, having confidence, and having that faith that, like, you can do things and things will work out with time, even if you don't succeed right away. Like, what's the difference between a setback and a failure, right? Like, a setback is a failure that you don't let stop you, right? And so, yeah, there's a lot you can do to sort of build that trust in yourself, and I think it is, like, an active thing too, right? Like, you can't just wake up one day and say, like, okay, I'm gonna trust myself, because, like, you're not stupid. Like, you've had experiences in the past that led you to believe what you believe now, and it's not your fault. But also, it's like, yeah, I don't know, I'm kind of getting down in a spiral of word salad at this point. But all this to say, yeah, I think that I think like letting go of expectations is a big thing, like letting go of other people's expectations of you. And also like going hand in hand in that is like not comparing yourself to other people. Um, and realizing that like you are very much like on your own path, on your own track, and uh it's hard to objectively know what your end results are going to be without the specific data of you actually like trying. Like you can compare yourself or look at other people and whatnot all you want, but you're just never gonna know. And that's kind of how I'm feeling right now, where it's like, with YouTube, with creative work, with trying to figure out like, I don't know if like my purpose is quite the right word I'm looking for, like my life purpose, but like I want to find out like what is my passion, what is work that can both sustain me and something that I enjoy doing. That might seem impossible to some extent, but like, is it really impossible? I don't know. I won't know until I try. So, all that to say, I do think that a rebrand is coming in the near future. I am going to be trying with some new styles of videos and trying to do a little bit more experimentation. I would love to do more stuff as well too that's like not really media related or not really like about TV shows or movies. Like I would love to just sort of like what I'm talking about today, right, in the stream, like talk about sort of life and things that are on my mind and lessons that I'm learning, I guess. I feel like and this is really sweet of everyone to say in the chat that like they are kind of getting something out of my rambling, but like I do feel like I have something to offer. Maybe it's not yeah, I'm not even gonna like qualify that. I think I have something to offer. I think my words are worth listening to. Oh, Kiki is in the chat. About to start a stream myself, but want to hop on and say happy birthday, Vic. Thank you, Keeks. Yeah, have a good stream. Thanks for stopping by. I really appreciate it. That's really nice of you. Oh, yeah, I feel so loved and so appreciated. So many friends have given me well wishes. So many folks have said kind words, and I think that's a good reminder for me as well. I think it can be very hard for me personally. I felt very lonely and isolated at times in recent times. So it's nice to have this reminder of so many people actually caring. It's very sweet. So yeah, thanks everyone. I really, really appreciate it. Let's see. We've been streaming for a bit now. I don't know what I want to do next. I was thinking maybe we'd play some games or like I'd play some Paper Mario or something, but honestly, I did not set up my Switch and Kiki, oh, that's so sweet. I've had a shit of go of things lately, so I haven't been around much, but feel free to reach out if you need someone to talk to. Yeah, absolutely. Same to you. I am sorry to hear that you've gone through so much shit lately. But yeah, I'll absolutely reach out, and if you want to reach out to me, I would be happy to catch up and chat sometime. Magical asks, when you rebrand your channel, does that mean you will change the channel name? Yeah, so I'm going to change the channel name. I'm going to change some of the images and graphics and stuff that I use for the channel. And yeah, I'll be using the name Vikram or Vic. I'm not really entirely decided yet. But yeah, the channel name will change and it'll have hopefully a new look, a new feel. And I think also actually something I've been thinking of as well too is potentially even just starting a second channel. So this is something I've been like thinking about for a long time, actually. I was like, well, now I have this channel, maybe I start a second channel. And I kind of convinced myself out of starting a second channel because I was thinking, right, like it doesn't make sense to have a second channel if I can't even like be consistent on the first one. And I might as well just like put all the stuff I make onto this one channel just to like keep it all in one place and to hopefully kind of grow, I guess, this channel as well too. But I've been thinking maybe I should just go ahead and make a second channel, because I feel like maybe it would just sort of like lift some of those mental pressures and expectations of like, oh my gosh, I have like, you know, 2,400 subscribers or whatever on my main channel. That means if I do a video, it has to be something like for people and like something that people will watch, and like it has to be successful or whatever that means. But I feel like having a second channel might kind of like alleviate some of those pressures and sort of like just let me be more okay with like just trying stuff and throwing stuff up there that might be like a little bit less effort, but maybe is still like worth saying or trying. So yeah, so there's going to be a rebrand of the channel and then potentially also a second channel for like more casual, less scripted and like less effort kind of stuff. But I do want to keep the main channel to have more of like the scripted and more of like the more produced videos that I do want to make, right? Like even though they're a lot of effort to make, I do want to make them because they're fun to make. So I would like to do more of that. You know what I mean? But yeah, lots of stuff. Lots of stuff on the way. Feeling potentially optimistic about it, but you know, it's also scary. There's a lot of stress and anxiety around it too. Change is always scary. You know, thinking about like how hard it's going to be at the beginning is kind of scary because like, you know, like I said before, right? Like things don't come right away. You kind of have to try and flounder around a bit in order to kind of find the groove.